You're struggling. You know you're struggling. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that one conversation, one phone call, one honest sentence could make things easier. But you won't do it. You'll stay up until 2 a.m. figuring it out alone. You'll Google the same thing 12 times. You'll carry it quietly, invisibly, for weeks. And when someone finally notices and asks if you need anything, you'll smile and say you're fine. Because asking for help isn't something you do. And here's the part nobody talks about. That's not strength. That's a pattern. And it has a very specific origin. Let's start at the beginning. Psychologists have identified what they call compulsive self-reliance, a deeply ingrained behavioral pattern where a person systematically avoids seeking help even when help is clearly available and clearly needed. This isn't stubbornness. It isn't pride exactly. It's a coping mechanism that was built early, usually in childhood, and has been running quietly in the background ever since. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who consistently avoid help-seeking behavior show early attachment patterns where relying on others was either unsafe, unreliable, or came at a cost. In other words, at some point in your life, needing someone didn't go well, and your brain remembered. Think about what that looked like. Maybe you grew up in a house where everyone was already overwhelmed and asking for more felt selfish. Maybe you had a parent who responded to your needs with frustration or dismissal. Maybe you learned very early that the only person who would reliably show up for you was you. So you stopped asking, not because you didn't need anything, but because needing things felt dangerous. You adapted. You became capable, impressively, quietly, exhaustingly capable. And the world rewarded you for it. They called you independent. They called you strong. They called you the one who has it together. And you learned to wear that like armor. But here's where it gets complicated. That armor has a cost. When you never ask for help, you don't just carry more weight. You also send yourself a message every single time. The message is, I am alone in this. I cannot trust that anyone will show up. I have to handle everything myself, or it won't get handled. Repeat that message enough times, and it stops being a strategy. It becomes a belief. And once it's a belief, it shapes everything. It shapes your relationships, your capacity for intimacy, your ability to receive care, even when it's freely offered. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain. Asking for help requires something that researchers call vulnerability tolerance, the ability to sit with the discomfort of being seen as needing something. Brain imaging studies show that for people with high self-reliance patterns, the act of asking for help activates the same threat response regions as physical danger. Your amygdala treats the idea of asking like a genuine threat to your safety. That's not an exaggeration. That's neuroscience. For your nervous system, vulnerability and danger have been wired together for so long that they feel identical. So of course, you don't ask. Your brain is trying to protect you from something that once felt genuinely unsafe. And the cost of that protection compounds over time. Studies from the University of Houston found that people who chronically avoid help-seeking report significantly higher rates of burnout, loneliness, and what researchers describe as hidden exhaustion, a kind of fatigue that accumulates beneath the surface because you are always the one managing, never the one being held. You look fine from the outside, you function, you deliver, but underneath, something is depleting, slowly and quietly and completely invisibly. Here's the part worth sitting with. There is a difference between being self-reliant and being unreachable. Self-reliance is a skill. It's valuable. It means you can handle hard things. But when self-reliance becomes the only mode you have, when you are constitutionally incapable of letting someone in, of saying, I need you, of accepting help without immediately feeling indebted or weak or exposed. That's not strength anymore. That's a wall. And walls don't just keep pain out. They keep people out too. Here's the part worth sitting with. There is a difference between being self-reliant and being unreachable. Self-reliance is a skill. It's valuable. It means you can handle hard things. But when self-reliance becomes the only mode you have, when you are constitutionally incapable of letting someone in, of saying I need you, of accepting help without immediately feeling indebted or weak or exposed, that's not strength anymore. That's a wall. And walls don't just keep pain out, they keep people out too. You don't have to keep doing that. If this felt like it was describing something you've never quite had words for, subscribe. Because that's what this channel is here for. And if you want to keep going deeper, The Psychology of People Who Became Overly Independent Too Young explains exactly how this pattern forms in the first place and what it costs you before you even realize it's happening. Click it. You'll recognize yourself in the first 30 seconds.